welcome to Daring to Suck TV, episode 7. Today, I was expecting to talk to somebody, but they got sick. So we're going to roll with the punches. And I wanted to talk about something that's been sitting with me for a few days since Friday's debacle, which I'll talk about for a second. And it came out in that call. And I thought, well, what a great topic, you know? Funny in my little I pulled a few cards this morning, and the very thing I'd be hanging out with this week. And sure enough, the cards that pulled up were all about that. And it was all about, I thought that was a really good sign. So here we go. All right. So my name is Keri-Anne Livingstone, if you're new to me, and welcome whoever's here. Please say hello. I see about 4 or 5 people jumping on. Let me know you're here. Say hi, say where you're chiming in from, and know that I would love for you to be a part of this conversation, whether or not you hop in one of the hot seats, because that's the thing that I'm doing. I will, Jill. Well, you know what? You're here, so I may pop you on a hot seat. So that's what I'm going to play with today. There's a talk show feature on Be Live that is, hi, Ashley. Hi, Lucianne. Oh my gosh. And Carolyn's here as well. So there's this hot seat option where I can actually bring people in. Like, this is where it's like not just experts or coaches or people, not that that's bad, but it's like, it's about real talk, raw conversation, radical stuff, like radical change. So that's what I want to play with today. And you have your stop at most people that know and they hang out with me. I tend to ask questions that, poke around a little bit because that's what we're here to do. We're here to poke, we're here to reveal, we're here to talk about real stuff. And that means emotions are going to show up, real life. And that's what I wanted this show to be about, because when we start revealing and being with and modeling that for people, it has just exponential benefits. That the ripple effect is incredible. So I don't have to do that alone, and it doesn't have to be an expert. We're all experts in our own life. Yeah. So if you're new to me, again, hop on and say hi if you're here. My name is Keri-Anne Livingstone. I am a lot of things, a coach, a speaker, author in progress. And I try to help. Here's what I try and do. I help empaths, the deep feelers, the helpers and the healers, navigate all the life, death, and what the WTFs along the way. Because there are a lot. And us deep feelers, us empathetic badasses, because that is what we are, we see the world very differently from a lot of other people that are not deep feelers. And I think that we deserve a community and we deserve a conversation, and I'm starting to step into that focus more and more. So please, if you know of anyone that is a deep feeler, a helper, or a healer, share this. More importantly, share Fridays live. That we're going to talk about that for a second. Welcome, Vanessa. Hi, Mary. Oh, this is so great. The whole gang is here. Friday, I had a very revealing moment, which was so ironic because I really felt for the first time I'm going to step into by the way, I run a group called the Empathetic Badasses Unite on Facebook. So if you're not a member, please sign up if you feel called that you want a home for your open heart. And I thought I was posting it there. I thought I was going live in my intimate community of 300 and whatever people, which isn't super intimate, but we have very intimate conversations there. And I really thought that I was in the group, and I started sharing about the latest revelations, which were very raw and stuff for myself about what I'm noticing and how I show up for people, and I'm being called out by others and even myself that I bring more information forward that doesn't come from me. And I don't know where it comes from, but that's none of my business. All I know is that I'm the one that's supposed to blurt it. I'm supposed to put it into the space, and you're going to see some of that today. If people want to hop onto the hot seat, I'm going to play with this. And I'm going to finish by, offering whoever's here a chance to help me explore it more, and that you get the benefit and I do as well. So I'll be sharing that later. Welcome, Ernie. Welcome, Mary. Hi, everybody. This is so great. Okay, so here's what I want to hear from you. This topic about being responsible. Can I hear from anybody in the group? What does that mean for you? When we talk about feeling responsible, what does that mean? Just blurt. And this is where I want you guys to start practicing, like, oh, in my gut, I want to say this. I want to just show the vastness of the description of this word and how it impacts definitely deep feelers in the world and how we hold that word. So what does that word mean for you? So I'm going to give you a chance to share in the comments, and I really hope you do. Jill's saying, I suck at it. I want to hear more, Jill. Expand, please. Lucianne saying, feeling responsible for everyone being happy. Thank you. That I'm supposed to fix things. Stop blaming others for how you feel. Oh, okay. Ernie, can you expand on that? Do you mean, yeah, I would love to hear more about that. So you're not blaming others for how you feel anymore, meaning you're taking responsibility for how you feel? And if you are saying that, then what does it mean to take responsibility? Like, how would you define that? I would love to hear in your words. Thank you, guys. This is great. So you can see how the word blame actually comes up a lot. So that's why I got a bit like, oh, is it yourself or other people? Because in my own world, whenever I used to hear the word responsible, I definitely associated the word blame. And without even knowing I was doing it, right? Guilt, thank you, Keri-Anne. Shame, they're very connected. One door opens the next. Thank you. Mary, thank you. It halts. I'm going to just share some of these. Thank you. I keep forgetting that I have this feature. It halts me because I feel responsible for others' reactions and feelings. Like, notice that we're holding that. Anything I say can be possibly triggered to just about anyone. Thank you. Oh my gosh, right? Where it's like guilt. I hope that you guys are picking up on the fact that there might be a few like, wow, look at this, look at these universal feelings that we all hold. Trying to make everybody happy. Thank you, Lucianne, again. All right, so let's talk about it. Because what I want to talk about is the idea of feeling responsible and being responsible. So I'm going to switch these around. I have these little cards to make sure I stay on track-ish, but I will go off track when I start getting stuff. So yeah, I want to have this conversation, and I have these hot seats available. So if what I'm going to do is, yeah, let's just do this, shall we? I'm going to invite Keri-Anne because she volunteered. Come on in, Keri-Anne. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, Keri-Anne.
Hello.
Hi. And if anyone else wants to join, I'm going to share the link. So we have a spot for one more person. If anyone feels inclined to join this conversation, I'm going to copy that. Thank y'all. Where are we? Okay. Oh, you know what? I do it in comments, so it's a link, right? Oh my gosh, sorry. We're just playing with this for the first time. Delete that. I should be able to comment, shouldn't I? There we go. There we go. All right, so there's the link. Anyone wants to jump in and join us. So Keri-Anne, can you share a little bit about your, just talk a little bit to me about feeling responsible.
I would have to put it from a childhood perspective. I was, no matter what went wrong or what happened, I was responsible. And I think that's where my idea of being responsible comes back to being at fault, being to blame. Just as a quick example, my mom got pulled over for not stopping at a stop sign one time. And as she proceeded to tell the cop, well, I was yelling at her and I didn't see it. And when I got home, I got in trouble because my mom didn't stop at the, right? So I was responsible for her bad day, her ticket, her not stopping, et cetera, et cetera. And so as I've grown, and I mean, I will put this kind of before my journey into this whole working on myself. Everything was my fault in my mind. I was responsible for everything. If something went wrong somewhere, somehow, it was my fault. I could make anything my fault at this point. You know, we didn't land on the moon, my fault. So it's difficult when it's someone close to you or you've said something or done something that no longer am I, okay, I'm responsible for what I say, but I'm now also responsible for how that person feels, or, what has happened. Instead of, yes, I made a mistake, I'll take responsibility for the mistake. I now take responsibility for everything that has happened after that and everybody's part in it. I should have not only fixed my part, but everyone else's, so that nothing went wrong. And that's a burden. That's a hard thing to put on your shoulders.
Yes,
It's you have an argument with someone, whether it be a spouse, a parent, a child, a friend, and it's, I'm always the first one to apologize. I'm always the first one to say, well, this is my part in it, and if I hadn't done this, then everything would have been okay. And there's a whole different way in my brain of thinking, being responsible and feeling responsible. Because I can be responsible to make sure I go get the gas and the groceries, and that's being responsible. I'm a responsible adult. I do things that need to get done. But the feeling of responsibility turns into a feeling of shame and guilt and negativity on myself that I can't do anything right.
That's right. Thank you. And I want to share this because, link doesn't work. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. I don't know what to do about the link, but what I'm saying, thank you, Carolyn, because so many people can relate to this. And as we just bring that into the space, I hope everyone out there's shoulders are just coming down a little bit in that, oh God, this is an epidemic. Feelings for everything but the weather. This is the experience of an empath. And this is where we've really taken on, the innocent assumptions that we made when we first came here. Does that make sense? So I want to break that down for just a second. Now tell me how this lands with you. The way I see it is we show up open. And because, I don't know if you caught my Friday's broadcast, but I really went into this a little bit, but it was like, we show up open with our open heart and we're like, we're here, I'm here. And guess what we came here to say? It was like, I came here to help. Like we showed up with a shirt that says, I'm here to help. That's our nature. That's our gift. Does that feel true for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. The open part really speaks to me. I'm here for everybody. Yes. Yeah.
So the openness translates to vulnerability when people take advantage in various ways. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we all know the range of that. So what I'm aware of is that because there's this sometimes instant impression that we understand things that we have. What I want to say is we have no business understanding at that age, just because the intellect is like, the intellect isn't quite there as a young child or even an infant about what we're picking up, about the energy that we're connecting with. And our intellect does its best on its own to try and associate, figure it out, label it, name it, put it somewhere. That's its job. And without that adult supervision, without that intervention or the loving interpreter in your ear, it kind of can put things in places that feel like, yeah, that fits, but it's absolutely inappropriate at the same time. Right? So that's why this is why being responsible, it came right away. That sense of being responsible, because just sense into this, everybody. We show up and we're like, oh, I'm feeling something. Oh, what is that? Well, because I'm feeling it, it must be mine, right? Because who else would it be? No one there was to say, hey, by the way, there's this thing called energy that we all are. And when we get close to people, or even we can pick up, collective energy and all sorts of things. There was no education. There was no sort of step-by-step process to help us understand that A, it's a thing. And B, how to decipher, not even just what's mine and what's not mine, but how to understand it and how to hold it, even to know who we are in the whole equation. So that's where it all stems back from. from my perspective. And that's what, so how does that land for you?
It's so true, because you aren't given a roadmap, right? Like there's no guidance. Maybe some people are, but I can't speak for everyone other than myself, that there was no guidance. There was no, it was almost, if you're feeling anything, whether it was responsibility, guilt, shame, happiness, whatever, don't feel it. You're not allowed to show, because basically the message was, I, as a parental figure, or even as a husband, my first husband, I don't have time for this. There's more important things out there than how you feel, and you're probably feeling wrong anyway. So keep it to yourself, deal with it, and I have more important things to do. Right from a child, and I think as you get older, you seek out those almost same people that show you that, because that's your truth. And we're obviously completely wrong, but I didn't know that, right? Everything was my fault. I didn't know any different because nobody told me any different, and I didn't know any better.
And I always want to just pause people at that incredible admission that just, it's instinct. I didn't know, but we don't hang out in the truth of that long enough to receive the gifts in it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What you also highlighted beautifully, and by the way, there's a lot of Me Too's in here. Yes, because I'm feeling it, it must be mine. What you're showing here is we're at the very core of how this stuff all starts. And you led us into the other door that says, all right, now we can start seeing the trajectory of the decisions being made, of internal identities being received and locked in, and also this idea about rushing. Man, how many Me Too's are out there about rushing? We got some comments here. I get very confused when I feel one thing, but people are trying to convince me of something else. Yeah. Oh, I'm just like high-fiving and like, yes. So my mind tries to convince the feeling that it is wrong, but it hardly ever is. And there is the place where we turn on our own hearts. And we have no idea we're doing it. And we wonder why we feel so disconnected or a sense of dis-ease here. From a very young age. Thank you, Lucian. This is adding so much. And then another, see, people have lots to say about this. Impressa, can you break down what the INTP is? Not everybody is schooled on that. I think it's like introvert. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but if you have that handy, I would love that expansion on that. Someone who is very analytical and logical. See, it's interesting, right? We can actually be very empathetic and also hold logic, like be type A's, right? I have to constantly work on deciphering emotions, both my own and others. If I can't quickly connect to the emotion or explain it, I see it as useless, which means it gets shoved down, thank you, and explodes later, or I lash out. These are incredible descriptions. I'm so glad I did this. And I hope you guys are too, because you are articulating these moments. We're opening them up and seeing what I want to just honor is the damage being done. And also saying, and know that you are not damaged at the same time. But the experience of damage, the experience of, I don't know what else you'd call it, the impact and the impressions being made that can last a lifetime. These become the blocks over time. These are the wounds that fester, that we never know either how to deal with them or, or what to say to them. Anything coming up for you, Keri-Anne?
Just reading. First of all, Impressa, you have the best name ever.
Right.
Just hearing that Lucianne saying what I was feeling is people were telling me it's wrong. And you hear that all the time. Well, I'm feeling this. And they're like, well, that's wrong. And it's like, well, go to hell. No, it's not. You can't tell somebody feeling is a feeling. It's not a right. It's not a wrong. It's a feeling. And I've actually had to say to people, you can't tell me what to feel. I'm feeling what I'm feeling. And if you don't respect that, then why would I even want to be around you? I feel what I feel, right, wrong, or indifferent to you. it's still my feelings. And then having to, that idea of having to suppress it, and Impress is exactly right. You hold it in, you keep it in, and then it has to be released sometime. Introvert, extrovert, however, logical, not, feeling wise, somehow it has to come out, and it will, in my case, it always comes out to the wrong people. But it's like, this wasn't about you, you're right, but you're gonna get the effects of it. So it's very interesting and very reliefful. I don't know, that's a word, we're making it up. That other people, it's the exact same thing you're feeling. Like, you're not an oddball, you're not a freak. I've been in a room with 4, 5, 6 other people, and they're all feeling one way. I might be feeling something completely different, and you feel like the oddball, and you're like, well, am I wrong? How can a feeling be wrong? How can what I'm living, if I'm living my truth, how can it be wrong? And you have to be, well, I shouldn't say we, I have to make sure that I'm in a place, or I have that strength to be able to say, I feel this, and it's okay, and be that stand-up person for myself, because nobody else has ever stood up for me.
Well, you got it. Yes, up until now, and then you sort of like, okay,
yeah, I got
about to get real in here. I'm like, you want to roll my? Sorry, Ernie's
come at me. See what happens.
Right, another time, Ernie. And thank you for being here, Ernie. Catch it on the replay. Let me know how this lands with you. Okay, so now you're also bringing up doubt. This is the birthplace of doubt.
Yeah.
Doubting in ourselves, question marks everywhere. And then having this, I work with a lot of people that have this stop-start energy, a lot of creatives that, and by the way, we are all creative, but, when you know that there's something you want to put out into the world, whether it's words or just something to say or in a conversation, versus like photography or a program or whatever it is, there's this playing around with doubt that just this is one of the blocks, right, that get in the way. And this is the place where it all gets born. And back to that whole rushing around thing, when people are like, no, like, and it's so interesting to me when I'm gonna share something about that now, about rushing. I was speaking to it was in a very early session, one of my very first coaching sessions. The coach that I was working with, he was so, God, he was so great. At one point he just said, can you just tell me what's the deal with the fast talking? And I was like, oh,
that's just me.
Oh, and he just, and you said, I'm not judging. I just like, can you like, what's behind all the fast talking? And man, did that ever cut to the core of what you shared earlier, which is, okay, so then I had to blurt the thing that came up for me, which was a really vulnerable, like, I think I talk really fast because I want to make sure that I don't bother people. That I don't keep them too long. Oh God, even just saying it, I remember being like, oh, where is this coming from? But it's like in those blurty places that the truth wants to come out for me to see, for you to see. And that's why I encourage it so much on these calls. And thank you so much, Keri-Anne, for being so articulate with what's coming up for you. And everyone in the comments here. And I was like, whoa, and I, of course, as soon as it comes out, there's feelings and you just like melt your face off because you're like so like horrified and sad. And it's the emotions of like shame and like, oh, just embarrassment. And oh God, I can't believe I rush myself. I worry about what other people think and that I'm not worth the time. That's where all of a sudden rushing sends a signal, whether they say it or not, but the assumption felt is I'm not worth the time. So I must be quick. So I must be smaller. And he said to me, I want you to spend the next week talking really slowly. And I'm even doing it now. And just taking your time with your words, not in a weirdo way, but like, just like, but like, yeah, but you know what? He said, whatever, like slow the words down. And he said, people will respond to how you talk, how you hold your own words. You're teaching people how to speak with you. And I just the truth of it hit so hard. He was so right. He was so right. And the next week I played around with it, and it was probably the most vulnerable. Like, it opens up this vulnerability of like, oh God,
Wow.
I'm really opening myself up to people like, I got like literally saying, I don't have time for this shit. I'm out, for it to be confirmed. But for whatever reason, at that point, I understood I understood that there was me and them, because slowing down also created a whole nother experience of me with me. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes with noises like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always been I'm trying to slow talk now. I've always been a very
Try
fast
it.
talker, which comes from exactly what you said, which was get in, get what you have to say, get out, and then you're not bothering somebody. And I've always known that words can have power. I know if I'm in an argument with someone and some things are getting heated, I bring my voice right down. I get nice and quiet because it just diffuses the situation when somebody stops yelling. And but I've never put any correlation to the speed at which I talk or the speed at which I walk or eat or do anything, because it's always like I the rushing. I've got to get it done because part of it is then I won't be found out. You know, that fraud part of me comes into effect, right? Because everything is my fault and I feel responsible. Therefore, I'm getting lucky if I do things correctly. So if I get in and get out, no one has time to question or ask or, say, hey, wait a second, Carolyn, let's talk about it, because I might not have anything further to say, which let's be honest, I always have something further to say.
Isn't it amazing how we always, if we slow down, yes.
So I'm also a firm believer in you're in a place sometimes where you need to hear something. And even though all this has been fascinating and will continue to be fascinating, what you just said about the slowing down of the speech and the rushing is just hitting every fiber of my existence right now. It's amazing. It's smacking me every spot in my head right now, and brilliant, just brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we've got comments, but I would love just if you could sense into it, like what you're picking up. What are you picking up?
Well, I'm feeling guilt and blame and that I've been speaking wrong all this time. So it's kind of funny how even hearing
I know.
something like that is oops, I did it again. Oops, I shouldn't have I should have known.
Britney Spears all of a sudden. Yes.
But it's a boy, this could help me. This could be and maybe not all the time, because I also think some people, being an extrovert and being a very quick thinker, I speak fast. That's just things come to me quick and away I go. But how many times could be benefit for myself and for someone else to talk a little slower, make sure what I'm saying is not the right thing, but the feel is correct at that moment, and taking that time to let the other person maybe not hear 500 things coming out of my mouth, but 6 important things that are more succinct and more personal to the conversation.
And what would be really important about you grasping hold of this idea that you just came up with?
Well, I think it speaks to that vulnerability and that living in your truth and living in your authenticity. Because then I think I would start to realize, oh, this is actually a bigger feel, a bigger importance, a bigger thing than I thought it was to begin with. Because as I'm, talking and thinking about what I'm saying and maybe letting the things really make sense, it will make sense more to myself, and I'll be way more open to that person because I don't have a million other thoughts going in my head as I'm talking so fast and trying to get everything out. And then there's no room for the other person to come in. Now, the gift is that I'm open to the next part of the conversation.
Well, and I think what you're also saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like that there's a deeper intersection or a deeper opportunity possible.
Yes. It's not all just up here and just words. It's actually meaning and feelings and yeah.
And there's more room for them, you said. You said there's like more, what I saw was like, oh, it's not just me pushing a thing across the line. It is more vulnerable, but I just saw this, and all of a sudden you kind of go, wow, okay, well, what am I missing out if I'm not doing that? So I also want to just thank you so much for that. So I want you to take a deep breath, and I hope you can sense into the intuitive intelligence that just absolutely moved through you. I did not say anything. I did, but I didn't, because I just asked you to slow down and sense into it. And I just said, what are you picking up from that? Just always want to point that out to people. Like, look at what's available. Look at what just came through you. Look at the teaching that just came through you. For yourself, which is great.
Yeah.
But you also just shared that with, 7 other people times however many people might listen to this.
Yeah, that's what I did. It makes me think of my husband too, because he's very methodical, and he doesn't speak really fast. He's just has a very beautiful cadence actually to his voice. And I'll hear him on a conference call or talking to somebody, and I often think, boy, he's brilliant or amazing, because sometimes that you don't see that in everyday life, right? Because this is at his job, which is foreign to me. I hear it and I think you're drawn into it. You want to listen to him. You want to hear him. You want to believe in him because of how strong he sounds when he talks. He's sure of himself. It doesn't, my hands are all over the place because when I talk fast, there go my hands, and and you can see people, they're watching my hands or they're watching me, and it's like, there's so much going on, and the crazy woman's talking again. And, I just wonder, to sit back and just be calm, I think brings that whole different sense. And even just feeling that now makes me feel different there's a time and place for everything, but
that's right.
To be able just to breathe and go, I'm going to try this quietly. Like, I can't wait for dinner tonight with the husband. Right? I mean, I'm in a hotel room, so we're obviously going out, but he's going to be, I know, I just hear him now. He's going to be like, are you okay? If I'm calm, and my hands aren't going, and I'm looking at my
going to be like, I picture being like, I've never been better.
Right.
It's like, right? Who knows what's going to simmer in that energy. I mean, I almost feel like, bow, bow. So, like, really kind of nice. Ooh.
Right.
Some opportunities might open up.
Yeah.
This is so great. It's so great because what you're talking about is range.
Mm-hmm.
I love where this conversation is going, because now you're helping us, me share and others see the range that we are. And it's beautiful, all of it. At one end of the spectrum, there's this vibrant, arms and legs akimbo. I have so much to say. And there's a time and a place for that. And exactly. And there's a place to even honor her and be like, I love her. Like, she's great. Like, I love the aliveness. And then it's like, but there's almost this other end that you're like, I don't often hang out there. I wonder who I might be when I hang out there.
I'm excited to see, to bring this into my world, because when you started talking, I was like, yeah, I could never do that. I talk slow. Yeah, whatever. I don't do anything slow. But as you embrace it and you actually do it and you bring it down, it just quiets everything. It quiets the mind, like from the top of your hair all the way down. My feet don't move. My arms don't move as much. I'm present. I'm not thinking about, oh, there's something moving over there. What did I see here? You're present, you're focused, and it's just a peace, and I never would have thought till I tried it. And that happened in all of 2 seconds. So it's amazing, actually.
You demonstrated what it's like to consider. And that is a gift of an empath, by the way. That is a fault and a gift. We tend to consider others because we have experience of others. We automatically are like so considerate because we almost want to preempt it. That also opens up a whole nother conversation.
Next Monday.
This call. But I want to kind of tie this up a little bit, and then maybe see if anyone else wants to hop on for the second half. But I'm sorry, I want to make sure I don't lose my thread here. Okay, because all of a sudden I opened up that door, now I'm like distracted. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh my gosh, it's like being cut off for me. sorry. You demonstrated. You were demonstrating how to consider. And by just simply considering it, it's like trying it on.
Mm-hmm.
This is an element of coaching, right? When we step into a conversation and all I say is, just, you can have the original one back if you want before we leave the call. But once you start trying a new idea on that, by the way, was not only brought forward with me, but by you as well, and intuitively, because words started coming out of you, gut checks, blurts, that were absolutely perfect for exactly where you are, allowed you to really try it on to the point where you were excited about the idea. Yeah. It was freaking persuasive through just considering it with free will. Now you can totally feel the way you want to feel before. And it's almost like you start expanding the full expression of yourself. Now you don't just have to be fast. Yeah. You get to maybe play around with slow. And now I want to, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you're very welcome. Thank you.
For that. And will you check back in?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us what dinner was like.
I can't wait. Yes.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
It's like an experiment.
Right?
Right.
Not only observing you. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, not only how I'm going to feel and how it's going to feel for me, and the result that is going to either make me keep embracing this or whatever, but how someone else who I'm very close to is going to react to that. And then having that conversation with him, it's who knows where this could lead. So this is fascinating. It really is. Yeah.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Keri-Anne, for being here.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to share. I'm going to hop into comments, and I want you to, if you can, still stick around and chit chat with us if you can. Thank you. That was so great. I didn't know what I was going to get when I did this. And I'm so freaking glad I'm doing this, because it's just different. It's not about having just people out there being, coaches talking to coaches. This is real people and the real stuff. Okay, so just a few comments. It is often seen as a weakness if you're very emotional and feeling. That used to bother me a lot. Now I just accept that I'm like this. This is called the process of becoming an empowered empath. Yes. Doubt is that decision between mind and feeling. And having been taught to trust the mind over the feeling. Oh, I'm curious about that. Doubt is the discussion between the mind and feeling. Oh, I may want to hop on there. Okay. If anybody wants to hop on, say me too. And I'll send you the link up. Maybe I'll have to send it through private message or something. But Lucian, I would love to hear more about that. Having been taught to trust the mind over the feeling. Oh, I understand. It was the having been trust. Because yes, it's which one do you trust, right? And all of a sudden you're in battle with yourself. Got it. Tori, thank you so much for this conversation. I felt like a walking wrong my whole life. I almost bowed my head again, Tori. Had this weird thing when we were talking the other day. Every time she spoke something that was obviously very important, my whole body would just absolutely drop, almost bowing to the truth of it. My whole life of being judged for being me. I'm relating so much to what Keri-Anne is saying. Fantastic. And we got lots of love that's. Oh, Janessa, thank you for being here, Vanessa. Having some moments over here. I'm understanding that before I started this self-work, and let's be honest, sometimes still, and by the way, always, sorry, spoiler alert, I love you, and always, and it doesn't have to be a burden. It's a gift. Once we start this process, it's a gift. It becomes an ever-flowing fountain that is self-supporting. Stick with me. If you know anybody that needs that, come hang out in our community, and we'll just start this revolution, shall we? People would tell me that all their stuff, and I would have such a deep sense of what that would feel like for them, that I would feel responsible for fixing it for them so that they or me wouldn't have to feel that way anymore. So you got it. That's when we almost take it on and we want to get rid of it. So then how do I get rid of it? Innocent assumption. Well, I've got to really show up and start doing things. Hence the innocent belief that we need to do our way through fixing feelings. And what I shared in Friday's broadcast, which I hope if you haven't listened to it, please listen to it, because it's really sort of the birthplace of like, you are here to simply be with, feel. You're here to do many things as well. But we're rooted in the beingness. That's why we showed up the way we did. And now we get to interpret it, and I get to help. I get to help us untangle all the bullshittery that we picked up along the way. And that is a big one, that we are responsible for fixing it, or we're responsible for doing something. And that there is a time and a place for being and doing. Janessa saying, now I understand that we have something to learn by moving through these moments, that we miss out on the gifts when we rush through them and have a sense of the situation. Oh, sorry, and have a sense that the situations will continue to repeat until we take the time to be in them. Amen. Thank you for that. Jill, thank you for being here. It took something to let go of the idea that I was responsible for my... Oh, I wanted to talk about this too for other healers that are on here. Yes, feeling responsible. In the beginning, thank you for saying that, Jill. I had a client that I innocently did the thing that I do, and I didn't know what I did, and I took her right into the core of her issue. Like, it's like going to the center of the earth, and that creates a lot of unraveling. And I just had this, she walked away feeling like really great. And for days she was like, wow, that's great. But I had a whole emotional backdraft of like blame and responsibility and just like guilt, frankly. And we laugh about it now, because she's like, remember when you thought you broke me? And I was like, yes, haha. But once I realized that, and I'm going to switch over into this topic about what we are responsible for. We need to have this conversation. That's why I really want to make sure this is covered. So there's this idea of feeling responsible, where we feel blame, burden, guilt. We haven't even talked about the expectation element, but so much more that we talked about with Keri-Anne. Believing that we are responsible and having that innocent assumption, and maybe even people telling us. So of course we're gonna like taking their shit, taking their projected pain. And I want to talk about what it means to be responsible. I just want to make sure I get these comments. Oh, we got a so true, Keri-Anne first from Lucienne. So great. Can so relate to that remark. My husband always asks me if I'm all right when I'm not talking to him, right? And just knowing that there's, oh gosh, yeah, holding other people's stuff, deciphering. And so this is going to be perfect. I'm going to switch over in a second. I can so relate to that remark. My husband, oh no. Yeah, okay, here we go. My husband always asks me if I'm all right when I'm not talking to him, not for being angry or anything, just for being calm instead of fast talking. Like, what's going on? Yeah, like when we're in the car. That was an addiction that I had to break free from, because my mother she hates quiet space. And so I grew up with my mom's the most amazing empath. She taught me well. And she also taught me what makes things hard, which is being in silence. She was never comfortable with it. And so I learned that as well, until I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this other range out. I'm going to hang out in quiet. And I remember Scott and I got real good at it. And I started feeling more, the slower I got, the more I realized the world didn't end and things started to settle. And Scott loved it too, because he's more of an introvert. But we had a friend in the car with us one day, and she was like, and we were just like, yeah, it was such a pleasant day. We were so content, and she was like so bothered that we were so quiet. And we just had to explain, oh no, we're good. We're just not big talkers. Like, we're totally, and I think it turned out that she just hadn't really experienced that in her relationship. So we seemed like total weirdos. But we had to explain ourselves and make sure she knew we were okay and that we weren't mad at each other. Like, she even thought we were mad at each other, and we were like, oh dear, which again was probably her projecting a lot of her own experiences. Like, well, that must mean innocently, right? So yeah. Thank you for being here, Mary. I'm an empath who married an empath, so no wonder that when we first met, he wanted to help fix what was going on with me. Trauma, flashbacks. This conversation clicked with me. No wonder he felt that way. I love the no wonder. There's certain phrases that I absolutely, of course, and no wonder. If we can all just even just have to say it that way. Because here, okay, let's talk about what we're responsible for. Responsible means, the actual definition is to be able to respond to, okay? So it doesn't mean that we're to blame. It doesn't mean we're supposed to own anything, or take on anything. It's the opportunity to respond. And this probably will open up into a whole nother conversation, but this is this changeover. When we start, it's impersonal. All of a sudden we have experiences. You are responsible, or I believe we are responsible to respond to our experience. Period. So, and that simplifies it, but it also means a lot of other things, right? That open up okay, all right, Keri-Anne, that's great and everything, that sort of, but it changes it. The opportunities that present us are through relationships. The one that we have with ourselves and the one that we have when we interact and engage with and bump into other people. And this is where, especially far along in the game, we're in our 30s, 40s, whatever, we have all these parts of us, aspects in the range. We talked about that range, aspects that get born from things like doubt or blame or responsibility or expectations or unworthiness and all the innocent assumptions. Consider every interaction that was untrue about your worth to have created potentially another identity or another facet. The one that feels this way, the one that defends, the one that explains, the one that feels guilty all the time. It brings you back to an aspect of yourself that is almost like at the helm of the ship, playing with all the buttons, and sometimes that part of you is making decisions, and they're making decisions based on false stuff, based on false truths. Does that make sense? They're making decisions on beliefs that are not true, that they're not worthy, that they're not worth the time, that they're supposed to, that they can't or don't or whatever, all the doubt. It's like making a decision on shaky ground, ungrounded and alone, actually, because it's like those parts of you show up to get your loving attention. I talk about this in the feeling portion of my work. It's like your feelings, your reactions are your business. And when people say take responsibility for your life, the first time I heard that, I was like, you know what? Meh. And by the way, I just put up my middle finger, which is like, I didn't do that thing. I didn't come in and abuse me, or I didn't do, you know what? I know I didn't, and yet my feelings are my responsibility. My experience of it, my responsibility. I get to respond to that. And this is the birthplace of everything changing, where it is not, you're not taking responsibility out of blame. You're taking responsibility from a place of loving yourself more, to change, to have a different experience in your life, to have a different opportunity. And there's things to do, how to do that. This is where in my life it showed up as slowing down. This is before I even heard this. I slowed down and I admitted. So I'm sharing some of the steps here. It's like I bead with my shit list, all the things that weren't working, all the feelings I was coming up with, all the aspects of self that wanted to talk. I didn't know at the time about this whole range idea. I just knew I had this massive list of admissions about what I was carrying around, these truths that I was holding, things that did happen to me, perspectives or interpretations of things. And I think this is important because what being responsible means you're going to respond to your stuff. That is it. When you respond to your stuff and start to honor it, give it a voice, writing, this is where we start getting into some of the steps. It's like you can write, you can express yourself. So it's slow down, tune in to you, as opposed to believing that you're supposed to be here for everybody else. And start speaking up, not to other people, with yourself, about your experience, admitting what you believe, admitting what you think, admitting what it's like, just even creating a home and a space for those experiences. Forget everybody for now. This isn't a time to grab the megaphone. This is the birthplace of, and I hope you saw that with Keri-Anne. It doesn't look like I'm going to have time for you to hop on, Lucienne. I'm sorry. I'm just realizing it's like 10 minutes to go. But we're going to set a date for the next one. But what Keri-Anne beautifully showed was just by even hanging out with some of the ideas that want to come out. I mean, she didn't write anything down. She had me there to create the space, and all of you there in like, yeah, me too land. And keep going, keep talking the truth. A lot of high fives energetically. I could feel it's like, yes, keep talking. By us hearing or being witness to our own experience, all of a sudden there's something underneath it that just wants to say, you know what? Maybe up until now, there were a lot of up until nows in this conversation. And then you say, oh, well, what else could I do? If it wasn't that I'm unworthy or awful, or if this is where I start saying, look for the other story. The surface story is that I'm to blame, I should feel shame. And please allow it. Please allow those layers to come up and let them be true until they're not. Because everything has a lifetime in this process. Everything has a like, oh God, this is really hard. And oh, hang on, the longer I'm with it, it starts to kind of lose steam. The more the air gets to it, you start to see different facets, different colors. It changes shape. It can breathe and to allow another truth in behind it. And yeah, sometimes that road can be really like, and you're built for this shit. As I said in like Friday's big reveal, it's like, that's what I'm aware of. We're built to hold a lot. We already know we can hold a lot. So why not hold our own stuff and do the very thing we do for others? We start doing that with ourselves. And you saw it. I mean, just stuff was just pouring out of Keri-Anne, not because she's just a gifted, speaker or articulate. That was coming right from her, like her gut. Like, this is what I want to say next. And this is, the more we start allowing that, the more we can start being with and allowing some of those feelings. And then we step into the feelings, just expressing the energy to help move it and to have a different relationship with our emotions altogether, without going totally into all my process. But this is the birthplace of it. Being responsible, able to respond, and you are all able to respond, but you get to look at what's the best place for me to respond from? Is it running around trying to make everybody happy? Sense the speed at which you work. Sense the speed at which you typically run your world. Pick up kids, go to work, do this, do that, gotta do this, that. Are you able to respond best in that mode? So just start taking responsibility for that truth about wherever you're at. How best are you able to respond? What place are you best able to respond? Stillness is a great place to start from. Jill Prescott speaks a lot about meditation, and that birthplace of everything can be stillness of change. So who are you responsible for? We believed we were responsible for other people by those innocent interpretations that we picked up, the impressions, those crossovers. And you heard certain facets step forward of ourselves. And I'm right in there with Keri-Anne, the one that feels like a fraud, the one that needs the reassurance, the one that needs validation, the one that never got heard. All of a sudden there's like and a lot of them are quite young, but they don't have to be little girls or little boys. They don't have to be the inner child all the time. They can be the teenager, the new mom, the new wife that didn't know. All that didn't knows had experiences that we weren't equipped to handle when we experienced them. So now we get to take responsibility and welcome them home. That's what I call integration. And this is where some people would call soul work, where when bad things happen, sort of split off and have a very different and untrue experience and live kind of outside of ourselves until we start doing some of this personal self-development work and the processes of welcoming at home to become more whole than not. And there is a tipping point in this process that is so wonderful, that when you start welcoming them home, I shared something in the very first episode of Daring to Suck TV. I talked about dying the good death. And I say, a lot of people don't want to step into this process because are looking at ourselves because, oh, I might die. I might actually die. The mind says, I'll die. And I leaned in and I said, it's true. Parts of you will die, but they will die a good death. And I'm not getting choked up this time about it. But the first time I said it, I absolutely lost it because it's so from my heart. They'll die a good death, but that good death is like the being integrated back into the soil and welcomed home by the whole. Welcome home by it's like the open arms. It's like, come, yeah, we know you haven't been here for a while. Come back in to the heart. And it's where everything that isn't you falls away. And you get to start experiencing that process more and more. And is it ever done? I hope not. In some ways I hope not, because every single time I do it, I go deeper into myself or deeper into humanity and I expand out. And there's just nothing better than really, really being here fully, knowing that I can be here fully, safe in myself with an open heart and ready to serve. Now I am here to help. I can handle that now. There were years when I absolutely shut down, but this is my wish for all deep feelers, helpers, and healers, is to start to be able to shine that truth, their heart, and show it. Because you want to be a badass, yeah, you show somebody your heart and watch everything just not only fall away, but fall into place. And yes, it's an emotional journey, but the emotions are kind of the best part of us being here. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have them. So thank you for me being able to share that, because that just really shot out of me fast. Vanessa says, oh, okay, Vanessa, thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. Do you guys have any questions or like WTFs about what I shared? Or I don't know, what does that leave you with? What does that bring up for you? Tune in and blurt here. I can check back in and answer. And if any of you want, so on Friday, I was like, all right, fine, I'm going to step into this like owning this intuitive element that wants to show up in sessions with people. It already is. I'm just now bringing it in more and not apologizing or being weird about it. I'm admitting it, that it's there. So I'm opening up for the next week. I've got 30-minute sessions for $97, which is a redonkulous price to clean up and reintegrate. I'm calling them integration sessions, to do a little bit of what Keri-Anne and I just did, and go as deep or as whatever as you need to help start peeling back some of those layers. Because you can almost see the trajectory of even what we talked about was far reaching, the experiences that she could play with from that. This is where we start to change and flip the story. It's no longer about being afraid and having to protect our energy. It's more about fortifying our own well, refilling our own well and learning where the leaks are. So I will post a link in the comments. But yeah, if you know anybody that needs this, I need to start sitting in this new thing for me, knowing I'm consciously doing it now and admitting that I'm bringing forward this other stuff that is such a gift in my life. And when I work with people, and just, not hiding it anymore. So I talked a lot about not hiding on Friday, and I'm not going to hide anymore. So I'm going to share the link, and I'm only opening up 10 spots. So at this price, I don't think that's going to happen again for a while. But thank you guys for being here. And I hope this was helpful. And thank you, Keri-Anne, for opening up your life, your experience, and that rich, beautiful, expressive heart that helped so many people, including me today. It just roots me in why I'm doing this, and that we do need to start a revolution. This is it. This is it. It's right here. Empathetic badasses. Join the group. Be with like-minded, open-hearted, like-hearted is what I want to say. Open, beautiful, loving people that are just here to be with and honor and bow down to and say, yeah, me too. Thank you, guys. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I keep forgetting to scroll down. Sorry. I'm like, I don't know if he has any questions. Okay, thank you, Luciana. It brings up a feeling of selfishness, like tuning in, thank you, into yourself instead of fixing others. Okay, thank you. I'm going to finish with this. And doubt. What if I'm a fake empath? Sounds weird. All right, thank you. This is so good. Maybe I'll extend some of these for next week, but let's talk about this one. Yeah, the selfishness about tuning into yourself versus others. We could go into the whole dropping of the oxygen mask and you can't help others until you help yourself. We could do that. But there's still that feeling of like, but I'm here to help. Right? This is our mission. I'm here to help. So it's almost like, oh, that feels weird. How do I go against that? And I want you guys to tune into this for yourselves and share in the comments, please. Imagine two paths. Okay? One path is status quo, where you're living outside of yourself, where you're always on the lookout for other people, where you're always tuning into other people's needs before your own in order to figure out how you're going to respond and how you're going to navigate. And start blurting words like, what's that like? What's it like? And I don't want to even put words out there. I know what that's like for myself. What's your experience of that? What do you think the trajectory of that looks like? And even if you visualize the path, what does it look like? How does it feel? And go look further down the road. Nothing changes. Does the path get wider, more full or lush? Or does it get narrow? Does the brush go away? What's the life of that path? Sense into it. Don't think into it. Just do a gut check. And then when you're ready, when you get a real good idea of that, I want you to look at this other path that I'm suggesting. You don't have to choose it, but step into it for just a second. And sense, well, in this path, if I'm being asked to slow down and use my own gift with myself to help unravel some of the misinterpretations that maybe create some of the stuff over there, what might this path? Well, first of all, how does it look different right away? I don't know what that is for you, but I want you to sense in and just notice, just blurts. Blurt them here just to yourself on a piece of paper. How does it feel? What are the possibilities over here? What are the possibilities of helping others as a result of slowing down to do this one thing differently? Of being more responsible with your own experience? So I'm just going to check some things. So I'm assuming that the, thank you. Oh, Jenna. Thank you, Janice. I'm going to receive that. Thank you. Yeah, like Jill says, Jill Prescott, Janice, thank you for sharing that. It's like, she says, come back to your breath. Is it breath, water, walking, and journaling? I think I got them, like writing. It's all about expressing yourself. And Carolyn's just sharing a little bit about that left. I'm assuming it's about the first path, which is exhausting, draining, can be fulfilling as well. Do you see how there's even range in it? So it's not all bad, but there is an experience, can be fulfilling. And I almost want to say, under the right circumstances, it's like one in 5, 1 in 10, 1 in what, 100? Yeah. Oh, thank you, Brandy. Feeling trapped. Okay, I think we've switched over. I'm guessing, Lucienne, when we step over to the next path, gives you a sense of calm. It doesn't have to be for sure. Like, that's why I use the word sense. We don't sense into things enough. And sorry, that sounds like a judgment, but I just really, now that I understand the process, it's like, oh man, you got to sense into everything. But now that you understand what you're responsible for, you can hold it. Different story now, right? There's a bit more badassery here of like ownership with your own, like once you start taking care of your own stuff, it's like, whew, maybe I get to decide is a big sentence that wants to come out. Maybe I get to decide. I feel like that might be there. Brandy says, gives my gut the swirlies. I'm curious about those swirlies. Let them speak to you. Brandy, what are they saying? What's the possibility in those swirlies? Thank you, Karen. The possibility of living authentically, and what does that bring? How does that change the landscape of that path? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And something about your gut, Brandy. I'd love if you please expand on that if you feel called to. Thank you, guys. I mean, it's just a little snippet of the possibilities. Again, if you're looking for purpose, your purpose, you're nailing it. You're here, you're breathing, you're experiencing stuff. Life for me is about the opportunities that are presenting themselves. And we have the ability to sort of be in this place to respond, to be responsible for, to respond to the opportunities and play from a place, though. We got to take ownership of what's going on in here, start to clean our own house and love it, start applying our own gifts to like ourselves and see what's different. So thank you for being here. And reach out if you want the experience of what this is like with just me and you and my focused attention and your focused attention and both of our open hearts. What? Combining, it's like, it's amazing. So I would love to, I want to sit more in what it is. I want to start understanding whatever it is that I'm doing a little bit more. That's why I want to offer this. So I'll leave the link in the comments, and just so much love for this process and everything daring. Know that you're not alone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Lucianne, and everybody. Brandy, I'd go through all the names, but you know who you are. Thank you for being here, and so much love. And share this with anybody that you think needs it. I think this is a fundamental booyah to all empaths, deep feelers, helpers, and healers. Oh, it's so lyrical. I mean, we're fucking incredible. Warn them of the swears. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.